Hey, what's going on, everybody? Jeff C here, and today I want to talk about all of the books that I gave 5-star reviews to in 2025. I am going off of my 5-star reviews off of Goodreads for this. So, you know, the way they do scoring, it's either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So it might have been that I gave a book 4.5 or 4 3/4 stars on Fable, but for Goodreads it was 5-star, and so either way, even if it's 4.5 stars, it would be a book that I would highly recommend. So anyway, let's get started. Hope you enjoy. I'm not gonna go in like a rank as far as which one was best or worst or anything like that. I'm just going to go in the order that I read them throughout the year. And honestly, it might be a little bit of recency bias, but I feel like the last book that's going to be on this list is probably my favorite book of the year. But anyway, we'll get there, and we'll see what you think. And I hope to hear if you have read some of these books down in the comments. Please subscribe, like, all that usual stuff. And let's go ahead and get started. I have, I think, 12 books. I got my little list here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12. So, yes. All right. So, let's get started with the first book. The first book I have here was kind of a memoir that one of my best friends I've ever had was kind of for a while suggesting that I read, and I'm really glad I went ahead and picked it up. And it involves a singer-songwriter who a lot of you will know, and who went through a tragic loss of his son, and so it kind of deals with going through that. And you can see I did a lot of annotating. There's some really good stuff in here. And so that book is Faith, Hope, and Carnage by Nick Cave and Sean O'Hagan. I really liked how this was kind of a conversation between the two of these guys that you just read back and forth. So, I mean, just some heart-melting situations in here. I don't even know what would happen if I just opened to the first thing that I annotated. Religion is of little value if it doesn't serve some larger function, the welfare of others. So, I mean, again, just a lot of nuggets in here that are really awesome. And so, yeah, Faith, Hope, and Carnage, Nick Cave, Sean O'Hagan. You should check it out. The next book, or actually the next 3 books, I didn't bring with me just because I just wanted to bring one bag. And this is honestly 3 books in a trilogy. And so I'm just going to put a picture of them here. This is the entirety of the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. It just talks about a young man, fits chivalry, that you meet in a world, and he's, you know, alone, and it's found family, and he learns some things, and he goes on some adventures. It's a very cool story. Robin Hobb, I love the way that she writes. It's very accessible, but it keeps you engaged. I really recommend her works. I've already read, you know, there's 16 books in the realm of the Elderlings. I read the Farseer trilogy, and I also read the Live Ship Traders trilogy. Both of those were awesome, just stellar reads, and I've heard nothing but, I've just heard that this series just gets better as it goes. And so, yeah. So that's all 3 books I gave 5 stars of the Live Ship Traders trilogy. So that's Assassin's Apprentice, Royal Assassin, and Assassin's Quest. So check out the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb if you have not already. The next book is also a book, you know, I was going to bring my Kindle and just have it, and I forgot my Kindle at the house, and it's Funny, my beautiful bride and I were just discussing how we don't actually have a physical copy of this book in the house, and so I think we're going to be maybe trying to find a nice edition. We both loved this book. I think actually she said it was probably her favorite book of the year last year. We read it at the same time. And so I'll put it up here. That is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. Again, you're dealing with a guy who goes from New York to Paris, finds love, has to wait on one love, finds another one, is trying to really find himself or learn if he can create himself. And again, I love stories where deep ideas are expressed in a language that is highly accessible, mainly because I don't know a lot of crazy big words. So yeah, Giovanni's Room, James Baldwin, 5 stars. Check it out. Let me know if you've read it. I am really looking forward to reading more James Baldwin very soon. Next, we have a collection, 4 stories that I've seen all 4 of them sold as separate books in bookstores. 3 of them have been adapted to major motion pictures, and I believe one of these motion pictures spent the absolute highest amount of time ever on Rotten Tomatoes, #1 movie of all time, highest ranked movie. I think it just recently got put down. And that book is Different Seasons by Stephen the King. I love Stephen King. I think this is the absolute best way for somebody who's never read Stephen King to get into his works. 4 stories, all different types of experiences going on in these. You have Shawshank Redemption, Rita Hayworth in Shawshank Redemption, which is the movie I was talking about. That was just huge. It's an awesome movie if you haven't seen it. Apt Pupil, which was another movie. The Body, which became the movie Stand By Me, which I grew up watching. And then there's another story called The Breathing Method in here that is also really good. All 4 stories are different. You have a little bit of some mysticism. You have coming of age. You have, Apt Pupil is just wild. I have a thing where I've mentioned in other videos before where anytime I find a copy of this book hardback in a used bookstore, I buy it and I give it away. So I've actually owned, for a very small amount of times, 4 copies of this one. And of course, obviously, I'm going to keep the best one. This is the first edition. You can see it's in immaculate shape. Yeah, I can't recommend Different Seasons enough by Stephen King, especially if you've never read any of his works. It's not all horror. Check him out. All right, our next book, something I just absolutely loved. This is, I guess it's kind of cool that I can say that I actually have a favorite poet now. I mean, I've went a long time without even really getting into poetry, and so this guy, this is not the first thing I've read of his, but it was really good. This is Letters to a Young Poet by Rainier Maria Rilke. What you have here is in the late 1920s. You have this poet writing letters back and forth to a young poet who was kind of having to find himself as both a poet and a person. And again, the wisdom that is expressed in these words by Rilke is just absolutely breathtaking. This particular edition has not only Rilke's letters, but also has the young poet's responses to Rilke, and so you can kind of read them back and forth. However, the Damien Searles, the person who wrote the foreword here, introduction by Damien Searles, he suggested just initially reading just Rilke's letters, and they're actually put in first. and then the responses are in the back. I have not read the responses, and the reason the author or the translator and the introduction author suggested that is because for a long time there were only Rilke's letters available to people, and it has been an inspiration to a lot of authors, a lot of poets. And so it wasn't until I think 2018 that they found the letters that were written back in response to Rilke. So I've only read Rilke's stuff, and it was great. Check out his work. He also has any of his writings are just awesome. Rilke, get into it. The next book that I gave 5 stars to, and actually I think I gave 5 stars to the whole trilogy. I would be very, I didn't go back and look, but I'll put it up here now. It's the 3rd book, Ship of Destiny in the Live Ship Traders trilogy by Robin Hobb, which is the 2nd trilogy in the Realm of the Elderlings saga. Again, I love Robin Hobb's work. This trilogy was awesome. It was a banger. A totally different set of cast and characters from the Farseer trilogy, but in the same universe, in the same world even. I mean, they're basically neighbors. And so, yeah, check that out. Read Robin Hobb, read the entire Realm of the Elderling saga. I'm looking forward to continuing on with that pretty soon. Next, we have a science fiction classic, and it's kind of funny because for some reason in my head, I kept imagining one of my best friends, and honestly, the friend that I still currently communicate with regularly, whom I've known the longest. It's weird, like sometimes you just remember something, and it's like, no, that's not how it was. I could have sworn that he, like when we were in high school, he was talking about this book. And then when I talked to him about it, he was like, no, I didn't read that until, late 90s, early 2000s. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess just after so many years, it's just way back is when I remember it being talked about. And I would see the book in bookstores, and I would, think about it, and then I wouldn't get it. I'd always get something else, just whatever I was in the mood for. I'm such a mood shopper and reader. But then finally, this stunning edition came up, and it was leather bound. It's signed by the author, and so I had to jump on it. I said, this is the time to get this novel. And the work I am talking about is Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. This is the Easton Press signed edition. I don't want to open it too much, but it comes with the certification of authenticity, signed by Orson Scott Card. Such an awesome edition. I really enjoyed my time with this book. I am looking forward to reading the 2nd and 3rd editions or steps in this trilogy. I think there's actually more books in the Ender's Game world. A lot of people say, I think it's like I don't want to say Xenosapien, that's a Cephalic Carnage record. Anyway, I forget what the next couple of books are, but Speaker for the Dead. But anyway, awesome book. You can read this at any age. If you have a teenager, I would highly recommend this work for them. Again, you have a young kid who's put in a situation where he has to lead, and he grows into that position, and it's really nice. So check out Ender's Game, Orson Scott Card. All right, and I spoke earlier about the recency bias, and so it's weird that I have 3 books left, and I'm also like, I think these are my top 3 books of the year. I don't know. It could just be, but honestly, I really loved these reads. And again, with the next one, you can see a lot of annotation going on here. And so the next book. Sorry, I had to go chase one of my papers. If you watch Red Fury Books. He's one of my favorite YouTubers, one of our favorite YouTubers. His name is Josh. He said that the way he described this book is that there's a very high wisdom to sentence ratio. I thought that was really cool. I just fell in love. I mean, I've loved this artist's work all my life, and so getting to read this was really cool. I definitely will be rereading this again. This is 12 Notes on Life and Creativity by Quincy Jones. He just has a way of really breaking down just wisdom. I mean, the amount of annotating I did, you can see here, it's just crazy. Let me just see, what does this say here? So, figure out what your guideposts look like for you and set them up early. And when I say early, I'm not referring to age. It doesn't matter how long you've been on this planet, because sure, the past is the past, but the future is also the future. There's always time to get on the right track. Yeah, so 12 Notes on Life and Creativity, Quincy Jones. Check it out. You don't have to be a musician to love this. Amazing stuff. All right, for the second to last book that I gave 5 stars to this year, also just a super profound short story collection, mainly science fiction. And you know, I don't think I gave any single story 5 stars in this book, but just as a collection, it was just chef's kiss. That is Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. Just a great collection. I think I actually have my little notes on the back here. Yeah, the story of your life. So that became the movie Arrival. You see here. Yeah. And honestly, my wife has started reading this, so I'm waiting. Once she reads the Story of Your Life book, we'll watch that movie. So that'll be pretty cool. The Evolution of Human Science 3.0. 72 Letters. Oh man, that was so good. You really got to read this. Ted Chiang, so awesome. Stories of Your Life and Others. Get into it. Finally, I have a book that I just finished a couple of days ago. So again, but man, this book is so compelling to me, and it just had me drawn in so bad that I went to Denver recently. You can see in one of my recent videos, I had this book with me and I was reading it, and I thought I was going to read it on the way home, but I had a really cool couple sitting next to me and we pretty much talked the whole time. And I don't know, by the time I got home, I remembered having it with me, and then by the time I got home, it wasn't in my bag and it wasn't anywhere, and I don't know where I put it. So I immediately went on to Amazon and bought another copy of this version, because this book was written over 100 years ago. And I actually had gotten a copy of it on a Kindle, but it was not the same translation, and it just wasn't hitting the same, so I just waited. So the story I'm talking about is the novel that inspired George Orwell to write 1984. And I'm going to try to not butcher this author's name. The story is We by Yevgeny Zamyatin. And this is the Penguin Classics edition, translated and introduced by Clarence Brown. So good. Oh my God. Just the way that this translation is, like, I had a note card full of notes that's in the book that I lost. You know what, I probably should try to see if it's at the Lost and Found at the airport. It might be. I have a little paragraph here that I highlighted, and so I want to read this to you real quick. And without giving too much away, you have a matter of fact, I need to do a review video on this book, but basically you have a guy who is the chief engineer for society, and they're building a ship to get humans off the planet. And so he's writing these notes down to somebody in the future, anybody in the future who might read them. So I'm just going to read this paragraph. He's talking about Integral, which is the name of the ship they're building. Those of you reading these notes, wherever you are, you've got the sun above you. And if you were ever as sick as I am now, you know what the sun is like in the morning, or how it might be. You know that rosy, transparent, warm gold. And even the air is a little pink, and everything is saturated with the tender blood of the sun. Everything's alive, soft and alive, the stones warm and alive, the iron, the people alive, and every one of them smiling. It might be that an hour later everything will vanish. In 1 hour, the last drop of rosy blood will be gone. But for the time being, everything's alive. And I see something pulsing and surging in the glass juices of the Integral. I see the Integral thinking about its great and terrifying future, about the heavy burden of inescapable happiness that it will carry there, upward, to you, the unknown ones, to you who seek eternally and never find. You will find, you will be happy. It is your duty to be happy, and you don't have long to wait. Oh my God, this book is so awesome. Yeah, it's 200 pages. Check it out. Like I said, I'm gonna do a bigger review soon. But I would have to say probably this is my #1 book of 2025. So yeah, let me know what your top book of 2025 was. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to interact with you in the comments. Follow me on all the places, Instagram, Goodreads, Fable. It's all the same, Jeff C. based in book. Please like and subscribe again. Yeah, and I hope you had a good 2025. And we'll see what happens next year, man. More books and more awesomeness. Peace.